Welcome back to the Wicked Psychology Hangout stream of the Erica Stefanko case. I hope everyone's having a fantastic end to your week. So today we are going to watch Mike Stefanko. Before I get into some of my theories on him, let's just go over the overarching story of Erica Stefanko. For anyone just joining, Erica Stefanko was convicted in 2020 of aggravated murder for her alleged role in the 2012 death of Ashley Biggs. Ashley disappeared while delivering pizza to what was allegedly a fake address, a fake call, which was called in by Erica. This is Erica's retrial due to an issue with her ex, Chad Cobb's remote testimony. We've seen him testify in court in person this time. And as far as Mike Stefanko goes, which is her husband, or was her husband, so they were having an affair before the murder and while she was still married to Chad Cobb, right? So I've covered this case previously, a few years ago, and I've looked into it a bunch and things, but it wasn't until just the other night that I definitely had a different perspective on her husband and kind of what Erica's intent was. So, what I speculate, and it's only speculation, is that Erica actually wanted to get rid of Chad as well. So, they wanted to get rid of Ashley because of jealousy and other reasons of wanting to have their daughter be with them solely and not with the biological mother, Ashley. So they got rid of Ashley, right? My theory is that also it seems like she might have been also trying to get rid of Chad because she was having this affair with this gentleman, Mike. And I say that because yesterday's recording, in yesterday's recording, we heard her say to her mother-in-law that, Chad had been talking about getting rid of Ashley and things like that. And she wasn't going to be the one to stop him. And if he wanted to go along with it, she told him, sure, go ahead. You do you. And it kind of sounds like she maybe provoked it a little bit and maybe planted the seeds of, oh, well, these are possibilities. And, it doesn't mean that she planned it or, did it. But it does sound like in a way, maybe she was trying to get rid of her husband, aka have him go to jail. And she was totally okay with that. And then she could live happily ever after with the person she was having an affair with, Mike, who she ended up marrying in 2015. So 3 years after the crime. And so she got her way for a bit to be able to have her kids and live with her fling and marry him. So that's my speculation. Again, don't know if we're going to ever hear her. I mean, I doubt she'll ever admit anything like that. But I do suspect that she was also trying to get rid of Chad by sending him to jail or provoking him to do something that would lead him to that end. So without further ado, let's listen to Mike Stefanko's testimony. This will be the only testimony we listen to today.
Where were you born, sir?
Worcester, Ohio.
Okay. And how old are you?
39.
Okay. Who are your parents?
Clara and Terrence Stefanko.
Okay. Are they still with us?
My mother, yes. My father, no.
Okay. And where's your mother live?
She resides at 12166 Harvey Circle in Redmond.
So you were born in Worcester. Where'd you grow up?
That address I just gave you.
Okay. You lived there, through high school?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have any brothers and sisters?
I did.
How many? And
I had two brothers growing up.
Okay.
My youngest passed away when I was 10 years old, and my oldest passed away when I was 23.
Okay. And how old were you when your dad passed away? You mentioned he passed away.
19.
Okay. How'd your younger, so how younger was your younger brother?
He was 1 year younger than me.
What was his name?
David.
Okay. How did he pass away?
He passed away on an accidental hanging at home.
How'd that happen?
We had a swing set with a rope on it, and somehow he got tangled up in it. He was the only one playing on it at the time.
Were you there?
I was there. I heard my mom call for him.
They tried to untangle him and couldn't?
They were able to untangle him, but he was unresponsive at the time.
Okay, sorry to hear that. And you said that you had an older brother as well. How much older was he?
He was 4 years my senior.
Okay, and what was his name?
TJ.
And what happened to him?
He died from a drug overdose.
And it sounds like a lot of sadness here, but what happened to your father?
He more or less killed himself.
What do you mean, more or less?
He went on a trip by himself as an insulin-dependent diabetic and take his medicine with him. Didn't tell anybody where he was going.
Okay. Is it fair to say pretty difficult circumstances for you?
Not ideal.
So growing up, how'd you do in school?
I did well in school, grade-wise.
Okay. Were you involved in any extracurricular activities or sports, hobbies, anything like that?
I was in enriched classes.
Okay.
Not really any extracurricular activities, though.
What does that mean, enriched classes?
All the advanced classes, honors classes, things like that.
Okay. Did you get good grades?
Yeah, straight A student.
Okay. Tell me about high school. What was high school like with you?
It was rough. I, due to past complications in my life, have suffered from extreme anxiety and depression, and that became a challenge in the later years of high school.
Okay. Did it ultimately affect you finishing high school?
It kept me from finishing high school.
Okay. So you never graduated?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you work in high school?
Yes.
Where'd you work?
I worked for my mom.
Okay. What'd your mom do?
She mowed lawns and was Chippewa Township trustee.
Okay. You helped her with the lawn part, not the trustee part, right?
Well, she was a trustee to maintain the lawns at their
okay.
Facilities.
Gotcha. Gotcha. When did you meet Chad Cobb?
I met Chad when I was 4 years old.
Okay. And how old was he?
He was 6.
And how'd you meet him?
I met him when him and his parents moved in next door to my mother.
Okay. You guys became pretty close?
We did.
Would you consider him your best friend?
He was a good friend, yeah.
Okay. Back then, did you consider him your best friend?
Yes.
Okay. And you guys hung out all the way up through high school?
We did.
Okay. Were you guys popular in high school?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Chad wasn't either?
No.
Okay. So you didn't finish high school, so is it fair to say you didn't go to college?
That's correct.
Okay. What'd you do after you dropped out of high school?
After high school and after working for my mother, I got into like lawn maintenance, lawn care, things like that.
Okay. Did you have your own business, or did you just work for people?
To start off, when I was doing lawn maintenance and landscaping, I was working for people.
Okay. Do you know what Chad did after high school?
After high school, he went to the Marine Corps.
Okay. Do you know what happened there?
He dropped out or was kicked out shortly after boot camp, I believe.
Did you ever think about going to the military or anything like that?
No.
Okay. So you and Chad were friends, but is it fair to say you guys were different?
Obviously, yes.
Okay. All right. Did you know Chad's girlfriends, hookups, whatever, growing up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do
you have a lot of girlfriends? A couple?
No, I'd say a handful, less than a dozen.
Okay. And you knew all of them?
I believe so.
Okay. After he came back from the Marines, did you guys continue to be friends?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever have occasion to meet Ashley Biggs?
I did.
Okay. How'd you meet her?
I met her when they were residing in Akron. I believe it was shortly after she gave birth to Grace.
Okay. So you met and knew Grace then, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And were you around or are you aware of when Ashley was not in the picture?
Yes,
And Chad had Grace as a single father, correct?
correct.
Okay. Would you go visit them or did you hang out with them?
Chad and Grace?
Mhm.
Yes.
And did you have any children at that time?
Not at that time, no.
Okay. Did you end up having a child?
I did.
Okay. Tell me about that.
I have an oldest child. He's 16 years old now.
Okay. And just so we're clear, if we're talking about a child here and they're under 18, we're going to use initials. Okay. So what are the initials of your child?
My oldest biological is DS,
Okay. And who did you have that child with?
a former girlfriend.
Okay. And where does ES live now? What's going on with ES?
Currently lives with his mother in Orville.
Okay. And do you see him?
I do.
You're in his life?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you, when you and her split up, were there any custody issues? Did you go through anything like that?
There were definitely some issues.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Just, it seems like every time that we would fight, the first course of action would be to limit my visitation with my son.
Okay.
I went through a course of, close to 3 or 4 months after we first split up where I had no contact with him.
Okay.
And slowly built it back up from there.
Okay. Was that tough for you?
It was extremely difficult.
Okay. But it sounds like you got through it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So what kind of work did you do, especially now you have a kid, what kind of work did you do to support yourself and your child?
Low voltage maintenance work.
What's that mean?
Mainly dealing with like cable, fiber, internet, things of that nature.
Okay. We've heard some testimony about that Chad Cobb was in that business, correct?
Correct.
Did you end up at any point working with or for Chad Cobb?
I did.
Tell us about that.
I worked with Chad off and on for 4 or 5 years as he was building his company. The last 2 years, up until the company was dissolved, he was my full-time employer.
Okay. So are you saying that you went full-time with Mr. Cobb in about 2010? Would that sound fair?
That'd be about right, yes.
Okay. And tell us about how you became full-time. Like, was his business doing well or what?
It was my understanding that he had acquired a contract that meant that he would have stable work for months on end.
Okay.
So I quit my full-time job and jumped on board with him.
Where were you working before? And was it called Cobb Cable Company at that point?
When I started working for him full-time, it was called Cobb Cable Company.
Okay. Where were you working prior to Cobb Cable Company?
I was a subcontractor for Time Warner.
Okay. And what did you do? What were your duties at Cobb Cable Company?
I was the field supervisor. It was my job to go out there, make sure our employees were doing the work that we required, doing it up to our standards and the standards that we were being held to.
Okay. So you would manage employees then?
Yes.
And how long did you have that job?
I would say that lasted for close to a year.
Okay. And then what happened?
That contract, that work began to fall off, and we started cutting employees back.
Okay. So then what was your role within the company?
Me and Chad actually started going out and doing aerial maintenance and working together full time to support both of us.
Did that require you to spend a lot of time with Chad Cobb?
A lot of time.
Okay. Like you guys are at work together in the same truck, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So is it fair to say you know Chad Cobb pretty well?
I do.
Okay. You said you knew him since you were 4 years old, correct?
Yes.
And then you guys worked together for many years, right? Was Chad a religious guy?
Yes.
Were you particularly religious? Did you guys go to the same church, anything like
No.
that? Okay. Did you did you become aware that at some point he met Erica Stefanko?
Yes.
You were around for that?
Yeah, he introduced me to her.
Okay. Did you know her before they met?
No.
Growing up and in through high school and even after, did you have occasion to meet Jay and Cindy Cobb?
I did.
Okay. And are those his parents?
Yes, they are.
Did you go over to their house and hang out or have sleepovers, anything like that when you were a kid?
Not necessarily sleepovers, but we hung out and I attended, barbecues and, events like that over there.
Okay. What was your impression of Cindy Cobb when you guys were growing up?
She was very dominating of the household. I mean, definitely came off as somebody that you did not want to make mad.
Okay. What about Jay Cobb, Chad's dad?
He shared the same mentality. He was second only to Cindy.
Okay. So your impression is that she ran the roost there, right?
That's my impression.
Did you ever witness Cindy Cobb being abusive towards Chad?
Yes, I did.
What did you witness?
The worst occasion was...
Objection, Your Honor. Relevant.
Mike, I think I asked you if you ever witnessed any abuse from Cindy Cobb of Chad Cobb, excuse me.
Yes, I did.
What did you witness?
The one instance where we had gotten picked up from the movie theater. We were a little late to our pickup location, and upon driving home, I can't recall exactly what Chad said, but out of the blue, Cindy swung around and backhanded him right in the mouth. His lip started swelling up. I even think his nose was bleeding. And then Chad just started laying into her. Started saying some of the most mean and hurtful things that he could to her. And,
I don't want you to say what it was, but okay, keep going.
And she must have hit him probably 5 or 6 times. When she went to hit him the next time, he grabbed the steering wheel of the vehicle we were in and pulled it till the vehicle went off the road.
Did you crash?
Yeah, we ended up in a ditch. The truck that we were in was basically laying on the driver's side door. We had to climb out to the passenger side door.
You were in a truck?
Yes.
And who's in the truck?
Cindy was driving, Chad was in the middle, and I was up against the passenger side door.
What happened at that point?
Well, we all piled out of the vehicle, and the sheriff showed up shortly later. And as Cindy is explaining the accident to him, Chad tells me that he's terrified.
Objection.
I'm sorry. Don't say what Chad said. But what happened?
When Cindy was explaining what happened to the sheriff, Chad just backed up and ran away.
What do you mean ran away?
He took off.
Like down the street? Or
down, like he was standing beside me, and then next time we turned around to address him, he was gone.
And you said you were about 13?
12 or 13 at the time.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know where he went?
No.
Was he gone for a day, an hour, a day?
I'm not sure exactly how long.
Okay. He eventually showed back up, though? Okay.
Yes, he did.
Did you ever witness Jay Cobb being abusive to Chad Cobb?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
There was an instance where we were moving around a large piece of farm equipment in their garage. Jay had told Chad to do something, and Chad yelled back at him that he couldn't or that he was, just snapped at him. Jay stomped over to him, punched him once in the face, and grabbed him and swung around and threw him through a glass window.
Was Chad injured?
He was bleeding really bad from his right hand and forearm. I believe he had to get something like 20-some stitches to mend it all up.
So he went to the hospital then?
Yes.
Okay. If you know, do you know if anybody was charged or anything happened from that?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Do you know if like child services was ever involved?
Not in that instance, no.
Are you aware of an instance where they were?
I believe there was one time that we were growing up that Children's Services was called out to their location because Chad had gone to school with 2 black eyes shortly after receiving his report card.
Okay. What kind of grades did Chad get, if you know?
Not well, not good grades.
Okay. Did you, if you know, I mean, was he not smart? Did he goof off?
He was a fully capable individual, more than intelligent enough. He just had behavioral issues.
Okay.
Either incapable or unwilling to sit still in school.
Okay. Were you ever there with Chad's parents when he would bring a girl over?
The only girl I know that his parents met was Erica.
Okay. What was your impression of what his parents thought about Erica?
I definitely felt like they didn't like her.
Okay. At the end or at the beginning or somewhere in between?
From the very start.
You testified that you worked with Chad when he had Grace, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you work with him when there was the custody situation where she was removed from school by Ashley Biggs?
Yes.
Were you working with him every day at that point?
Yes.
Okay. What did you notice about Chad? Don't tell us what he said, okay? But what did you notice about Chad when that situation unfolded?
He was definitely frustrated and distraught about the entire situation.
Okay. Do you know if he did anything about it? Like, did he try to get her back or not, or what did he do?
Like through the court and that, I don't know.
Okay. Do you know if he hired a lawyer or lawyers?
I don't know.
Okay. Did you two, don't say what you said, but did you guys discuss the situation a lot?
Yes, it was a constant topic.
Okay. And you said you had your own issues with your son. Was this at the same time, or had you already resolved your issue?
I don't believe I was going through these issues at the exact same time, but I was, sympathetic to the matter.
Were you sympathetic because you had gone through it yourself?
Correct.
Okay. Did he talk about going to court for that case, for the Grace case? Okay. And you said he was frustrated, correct?
Yes. Definitely.
So was it your understanding it wasn't going his way?
Objection, Your Honor. These questions are leading. Very leading.
Overruled. Go ahead.
You can answer.
Can you repeat the question again?
Sure. Was it your impression, or did you learn that it wasn't going his way, or it was going his way? Did you know how it was going?
That was definitely the impression, that he was not getting what he wanted out of the situation.
Okay. At some point, I'm not trying to get you in trouble, and this was a long time ago, but did you smoke marijuana at the time?
I did.
Okay. Were you a big drinker, or did you just marijuana for you?
Yeah.
Okay. I ask you because at some point did Chad Cobb ask you to get marijuana for him?
Yes, he did.
And what did you do?
I got it for him.
Okay. And if you know, do you know what happened with that marijuana?
I later learned that...
Objection. Hearsay. I know. Hearsay.
He's not saying what he said.
Well, can you lay a foundation? I later learned. How did you learn?
Through conversation with Chad.
Objection. Hearsay.
He's not saying what Chad said. He's saying what he learned.
He learned it from talking to Chad, Your Honor. It is hearsay.
Who's objecting? You or Attorney LaPrenzi? Are you done?
Oh,
I was just talking with her.
Okay. Did you want to respond?
No, Your Honor, it's not hearsay.
I agree. Overruled. Go ahead.
What did you learn?
I'm sorry, I'm What was the beginning of the question?
We were talking about the marijuana that Chad got you, correct?
Yes.
Or
Okay.
you got for Chad, excuse me.
Okay.
Do you know what happened with that marijuana?
I later learned it was used in an attempt to try to get either Ashley or Brittany in trouble.
And when you say Ashley and Brittany, you're talking about Ashley Biggs and Brittany Dunson.
Correct.
In what way?
I don't know the manner in which I remember hearing that it did not work.
Are you testifying that those drugs were tried to put in the car to affect the custody case?
Objection.
That's leading.
Okay.
Rephrase. Assistant, don't answer that.
Sure. I'm sorry. Do you know why those were put in there?
I don't know what ultimately happened to him,
Okay.
to the marijuana that I gave him. I just know that whatever he had planned did not work.
Okay.
Some conversation with him.
So it's your understanding that, well, you learned that it did not work out, correct?
Correct.
How did you feel about that situation?
Not welcoming. Not appreciating being drug into the matter. So I felt like that's what was
I'm
going
sorry, I
on.
missed that. Can you repeat that?
I felt like he was using that to drag me into the matter.
Okay. Did you feel like maybe you could get in trouble, possibly?
Yes.
Not what you said, but did you talk to Chad about that?
Yes.
And what was your tone when doing so?
As I had told him before, I am sympathetic to the matter. I will help him how I can, but I am not going to do anything that is going to jeopardize the time that I have with my son.
With your son. Okay. Did you, Mike, ever become aware of an issue with a GPS tracker?
I remember hearing about it.
Okay. Bringing your attention to the night that we're all here for, back in June of 2012, did you receive missed calls that night?
I did.
And who were they from?
They were from Chad.
And we're talking about June 20th or 21st of 2012?
Correct.
And how many missed calls did you receive from Chad Cobb that night?
I believe it was somewhere between 15 and 20.
And if you remember, do you remember what time you received those calls when you looked at your phone?
They were in the middle of the night, sometime between, I'd say, 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning.
And did you answer any of them?
No.
What were you doing?
Sleeping.
And where were you living at this time?
I was living in Redmond.
Okay. Did you have an apartment? Did you have a house?
Yeah, in my own apartment.
You had your own apartment? Did anyone come to your house that night or early morning?
I was woken up between 3 and 5 o'clock in the morning by Jay and Cindy Cobb knocking on my door.
Chad's parents came to your house?
Yep.
And what happened? Don't say what they said, but what happened?
They woke me up, and I mean, you say not to say what they say, but they told me Chad was trying to get a hold of me.
Okay. Did they want you to call Chad back?
I was told to keep a hold of my
Objection,
phone.
Your Honor. He just said I was told.
Do a quick sidebar.
Did he make a request of you?
He did?
Did you go get clean clothes for Chad Cobb that night?
No.
Okay. And why not?
When he requested them, I asked for more information on the matter, and he was unwilling to give it to me.
Is it fair to say you didn't want to get involved with whatever was happening?
Correct.
At some point later that morning or day, did you learn that something had happened?
Yes.
What did you learn?
That Chad was arrested for an extremely serious crime.
And because he called you, did the police come to talk to you?
A detective showed up at my house, yes.
Okay. And did you talk to him?
I did speak with him briefly.
Okay. Did you end up getting a lawyer to assist you through this process since you were now kind of a witness, right?
Correct. I was told through conversation with Jay and Cindy Cobb that I could retain their counsel if needed.
So you got Jay and Cindy Cobb's attorney, the same attorney that they had?
Correct.
Okay. After the murder, did you start up a relationship with Erica Stefanko?
I did.
Approximately when did that relationship start?
I would say November of 2012.
November of 2012? And she's still married, right?
Correct.
Okay. Were you married at this time?
No.
Okay. Were you were single? You didn't have a girlfriend or anything?
Correct.
Okay. How did you feel that she was married and you guys started this thing up?
Wasn't one of my best moments, but when you're in love, you're in love. I don't know how else to put it.
Okay. Fair enough. When Chad got arrested, did you have a job then?
I was working for him when he got arrested, so
That was a silly question the way I asked it. Chad was your boss, correct?
Correct.
Did Chad own the company?
Correct.
And the owner of the company went to jail, right?
Yes,
So what happened to that job that you had?
it was gone.
Okay. Did Erica work for Cobb Cable Company?
Yes.
Okay. So did she have a job then?
Not to my knowledge.
So are you unemployed at that point?
Yes.
Do you start looking for a job?
Yes,
And did you find a new job?
I did.
Where?
I found a job in a factory in Cleveland.
Do you know what it was called?
Trinell.
And what did you do there?
They straighten and take bars and grind them down to specific sizes.
Okay.
I ran a machine doing that.
Did you like that job?
No, it was awful.
Did you at some point move into Erica's house?
Yes,
Do you know when that happened?
that was January of 2023 or of 2013.
2013? If you know, do you know if Chad Cobb's case was still pending or he had already pled guilty to everything?
I don't know.
After you start the relationship with Ms. Stefanko and move in, did Cobb Cable Company keep going?
No.
What happened with it?
From the moment he was arrested, Cobb Cable Company never did any more work.
Why not? Why not?
Due to the fact that his name was on the company and he was in the news being charged for some very serious crimes, nobody wanted to touch the company.
Did you, I'm not going to ask about Erica, did you make attempts or are you aware of attempts being made to keep the business going?
Yes.
And what were those attempts?
Erica tried starting a new company and a new name, and then pursuing, the leads that we were already working with, but they still didn't want anything to do with us.
Was it your impression that that was because no matter what you changed the name to, there was still an association to Chad Cobb?
Correct. That was my feeling.
And at some point, are you aware that equipment and tools related to Cobb Cable Company were sold off?
Yes.
And was the business liquidated?
More or less, yes.
And if you know, do you know where that money went?
To Erica.
Did you receive money or proceeds from the selling off of that equipment?
No.
But you lived in the house, right?
Yes.
And the house needs a mortgage payment and utilities and all the other stuff surrounding that, correct?
Correct.
So you say you didn't receive any money, but you received some benefit, right?
Yes.
Okay. As part of your employment at the factory, did you chip in, or what did you do with your money?
I was saving for a car, and I believe I was chipping in around the house as well.
When you were living with Erica afterwards, did you witness her drinking alcohol ever?
Yes.
What did you witness?
I mean, her drinking alcohol, she was distraught, having a really hard time not having her kids.
So let's talk about that for a minute. When you move into the home with Erica, who's living in that home at first?
Just Erica.
Okay, just you and Erica?
Yeah.
Where are her children?
In the custody of Children's Services.
What was your impression of her drinking at that time?
What do you mean?
Did you think she was drinking a reasonable amount, an unreasonable amount, somewhere in between?
I definitely feel it was excessive.
Okay. Did it cause problems?
Some, I would say.
Okay. How would you witness her acting when she drank too much, as you said?
Gets a little blurred, belligerent. Yeah.
Okay. Would she ever exaggerate?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading. May we have a,
Overruled. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
She would definitely like say things she didn't mean, or say things like out of context or out of proportion.
Not asking if the answer is yes. I don't want you to say what was said, but did you ever learn from Erica what happened that awful night?
No.
At some point, are you aware that Erica got arrested?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know about when that was?
That was November of 2019.
Prior to that day, did you get married to Erica?
Yes.
So did she get divorced from Chad, obviously, then?
Yes.
Okay. When did you get married to Erica?
In June of 2015.
And did you guys have a wedding?
Yes.
Where was it?
It was in Worcester.
Okay. And was anybody else there?
Yeah.
Who was there?
Both of our families.
Okay. Were you at Erica and Chad Cobb's wedding?
No.
Do you know when that was?
No.
Are you aware if anyone else was there?
I'm not sure.
In June of 2015, well, let's go back. Prior to getting married to Erica, did you have a child with her?
Yes, we did.
And what are the initials of that child?
LS.
And how old is LS today?
She's 10.
So what is LS's date of birth?
10, 15, 13.
10, 15, 13.
Correct.
And this incident that we're all here for was in June of 2012, correct?
Correct.
And is it fair to say you moved in November of 2012?
Around there.
Okay. So just doing the math, approximate conception would have been around February of 2013 of LS?
In January or February.
January, February, 20, okay. And does LS live with you now?
Yes.
Okay. So in June of 2015, so you have LS and then you get married in June of 2015, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Who is living in now she's Erica Stefanko, right?
Correct.
Okay. So who's living in the Stefanko household at that point?
Myself, Erica, and our 4 children.
Okay. And are you working at that point?
Yes.
What were you doing?
Low voltage contracting work.
Okay, so you're back in the cable business.
Correct.
Okay. If you know, after Chad got arrested, did Erica get employment?
Yes.
Where, do you know where she worked?
She worked for ManCan.
Can you say that again?
She worked for ManCan,
What's that?
a staffing agency.
Okay, it's like a temporary agency.
Yes.
Did she work as for the temporary agency or at the temporary agency?
At the temporary agency.
Okay, and do you know what her position was?
She was a manager of some kind, I believe.
Okay. And would this been in 2012?
No.
When would this have been?
I honestly don't know when she started that employment.
Okay. You don't know even what year it might have been?
No.
Okay. Was it like closer to 2019 or closer when she was arrested or closer to 2012 when the murder happened?
Closer to 2012.
In 2015, when you guys got married, you said you were back in the cable business. Was Erica working?
Yes.
Okay. Where was she working then?
Still at ManCan.
Same place?
Yes.
Did she work at that place up until she was arrested?
Yes. Or no.
Okay. It's okay.
The way she looked at me.
Okay.
I remember now.
Showing you what's been marked as, Judge, can I get the Elmo?
Yep, coming on now. Just take. I'll turn on. That's not even that matches very bad. Yeah. Kelsey, could you have Magistrate Siri come in, please? There we go.
Perfect.
Thank you, Tristan. Just needed him to walk in.
Exactly. Okay, showing you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit D. Do you recognize that picture?
Yep.
And anybody that's under 18, I want you to just use the initials, just a reminder, okay? So, who is that?
That's myself.
Okay. And let's start over here. Who's that?
That's FC.
Okay. And who's that?
Casey.
Okay. And who's that?
LS,
Okay. Who's that?
Alexander Stefanko,
Okay. And who's that?
DS.
Okay. So this would be Chad and Erica's daughter,
Correct.
and this would be Chad and Erica's son,
Correct.
and this would be your and Erica's daughter, right?
Yep.
This would be Erica's son she had from a previous relationship.
Yes, my adopted son.
Okay, you've adopted him,
Yes.
Alexander, and who's this?
DS, that's my other biological son.
That's your son that you had previously, that
Correct.
you testified about. Okay. And is this at your house?
Yes.
Okay. And approximately what year was this taken?
That was taken this last Christmas.
Okay. Now, you testified that you've adopted Erica's son, Alexander, correct?
Correct.
When did that happen?
I am not sure of the year.
Okay. Was it before or after she got arrested?
It was before she got arrested.
Before?
Yes.
Okay. So prior to 2019?
Yes.
And when did approximately what year did the kids get out of CSB custody and come live with you guys?
I believe that was 2013 to 2014.
Okay. Was Grace included in those kids that came to live with you?
No.
Okay. Did you ever see Grace after the murder?
Only when I was at my parents' house and I saw her next door.
Okay. Okay, so not at your house, but next door?
Correct.
And where was next door? Who lived next door?
At Chad's parents' house.
Okay, Jay and Cindy's house. Were you familiar with Chad's relationship with Grace?
Yes.
What were your impressions of that relationship?
I mean, they definitely loved each other. He definitely seemed to put a strain on the household that stressed everybody out, though.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
At one point, I know Grace was kind of pulling her out her own hair from fidgeting with it from being overstressed and things like that.
Okay. What was your impression of how Chad Cobb ran his household?
He told me on many occasions he ran his household with an iron fist.
What do you take that to mean?
Exactly as he told me. Everyone and everything in that household was subject to being hit by it.
I'm sorry, I did not get that last part.
Everyone and everything in that household was subject to being hit by it. Okay. The iron fist.
Okay. Did you ever witness a dog shooting incident?
Yeah.
Tell the jury about that.
He had a mastiff that was approximately 2 or 3 years old, weighing, I don't know, 140, 150 pounds, running around in his yard. And he asked Alexander Stefanko at the time, who was only 12 or 13, to go get that dog inside. The dog outweighed Alexander by at least 50 pounds, but he went over there, he got a hold of it, and he was doing everything he could to drag that dog inside. When Chad saw that he couldn't forcibly make the dog go inside, he went inside and got his shotgun. He loaded it up with a shotgun round that has a beanbag in it, supposed to be a less than lethal round, and aimed it at his dog that his child was still tugging on. I tried to advise him against it, and he shot anyways.
Did that beanbag, as you described it, hit anything?
The beanbag struck the dog just above its penis and fully penetrated it.
So was it a significant wound?
Yes.
Then what happened?
After watching him fish what he could of the shell out of the dog's wound, he collected the dog and I believe he took it to the vet.
Do you know what vet he went to?
I'm not positive. I believe it was the ones that his mom works at, though.
Did that dog live?
Yes.
What ultimately ended up happening with that dog?
I ended up raising that dog through the remainder of its life.
What was his name?
Dozer.
Is he still alive? What's going on with him?
No, he passed away a few years ago.
After Erica got arrested, how did you feel?
Overwhelmed
Why?
because my wife had just been arrested and 2 of my children were just placed in custody of Children's Services.
Tell us about that. Which ones?
KC and FC.
And where did they go?
They were ultimately placed with Chad's parents.
Do you know why?
I don't know why.
There was a court proceeding, though, and they were removed from your home, correct?
I guess my understanding is since they are biologically related, that trumps any type of relationship that I may have had with them at that time.
Okay. So after KC and FC are removed, this would have been about 2019?
Correct.
After they are removed, who's in your household at that point?
It is just myself, Alexander, and LS.
Okay. How did that make you feel without KC and FC in the house?
It was really, really hard.
Were you able to continue working after she got arrested?
Yes.
So you had to work, and you also were a single parent, correct?
Yes.
How did you make that work?
A lot of hard work and through the help of some great family and friends.
Who helped you out?
Erica's mother and my aunt, uncles, cousins, pretty much everybody that I talked to.
It took a group effort. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
So what are Alexander's over 18, right?
He is now, yes.
Okay. What's he up to now?
He is a shift manager at Taco Bell.
Okay. What about the other kids? How are they doing?
They're doing well.
Okay. Do they miss their mom?
Without a doubt.
Okay. Do you miss their mom?
Without a doubt.
We've heard testimony, Mike, throughout this trial about this relationship being the result of an affair. Is it true that this relationship started out of wedlock?
Correct.
And is it true that you're not necessarily proud of that? Is that correct?
Not at all.
And is it fair to say that this relationship started at the end of 2012? Is that correct?
Correct.
Does this relationship continue to this day?
Yes, it does.
Did you adopt Erica's son?
Yes.
Do you currently care for those children, including those that she had with Chad Cobb?
Yes, I do.
To this day?
Yes.
After she got arrested for aggravated murder, why would you stay with her?
She's my soulmate. I love it.
And are you with her to this very day?
Yes.
I have one moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Felicia Easter. I am one of the 2 assistant prosecuting attorneys on behalf of the state of Ohio. I'm going to ask you some questions, okay?
Yes.
I have a tendency to talk fast. If you do not understand a question or want me to rephrase it, please let me know.
Okay.
If you answer the question, I'm going to assume you understood it, okay?
Okay.
And that you're answering the question I asked. Okay? All right, thank you. I'm going to try to go backwards. Some of the last questions you were asked on direct involved the defendant and how she acts when she's drinking. No, it wasn't. It was how Chad rules his house. You said he ruled with an iron fist?
Correct.
Okay. And you stated that he shot a dog with a bean bag in his private area.
Correct.
Okay. Now, you knew these things at the time in 2012 after Chad had been arrested. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And would you agree these are some violent acts that you're talking about Chad has done?
Correct.
Okay. And after Chad was arrested, you knew he was arrested for violent acts. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Because that's why you're testifying to it today. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. After Chad was arrested, Detective Hitchings, that's sitting at the table, came to see you in June 2012, correct?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, he came with himself and another officer, correct?
Yes.
And he specifically came to you and asked you about the circumstances surrounding that night, correct?
Yes.
At that time, you did not talk to Detective Hitchings.
Correct. I told him that I did not want to speak with him without an attorney present.
Okay. And you said you had to get an attorney, correct?
I was advised before Detective Hitchings arrived at my location by Chad's parents that I could retain their attorney and I could give Hitchings that information.
Okay. And Detective Hitchings left his card or his information for you to contact him once you got an attorney, correct?
I gave him my attorney's information when he was on my doorstep. I gave him.
You previously testified under oath in a hearing. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. And at no time did you testify you gave Detective Hitchings your information on the doorstep? Your attorney's information?
I did, in fact.
As a matter of fact, you had stated that
because Detective Hitchings knew
hold
right
on.
away.
I'll ask you a
Hold on,
question.
ask you a
Give me one
question.
1 minute.
While she does that, Mr. Stefanko, just a reminder that you were sworn in previously and you're still under oath.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay. Is it your testimony that you did not have Detective Hitchings' information?
That's not what I said.
Okay. You said you gave Detective Hitchings. Who was your attorney at the time?
Her name was Beth. I apologize. I don't know her last name.
Okay. And you had that information with you at the time?
I was able to give them her name. Yes.
Okay. And so, fast forward to 2019. Is Beth Judge still in the picture?
No.
Okay. But you still have that information, correct? That you had in 2012 about the Chad Cobb?
Not this time, no.
In 2019, did you know Chad Cobb had ruled his house with an iron fist?
2019,
Yes.
Chad Cobb was in prison.
Correct. At the time in 2019, did you still have the knowledge that Chad Cobb ruled his house with an iron fist?
Yes.
Okay. And you still knew, you had the knowledge about Chad Cobb shooting the dog. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in 2019 is when the defendant, Erica Stefanko, was arrested, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you were asked about, on cross-examination, how the defendant acted when she had been drinking. You answered.
You mean direct examination?
What did I say, cross?
You said cross.
I'm so used to saying cross. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
That's okay, but you mean direct?
I do mean
Okay.
direct. On direct examination, how the defendant acted when she drank, correct?
Correct.
And today you had stated that she acted something. What did you say? How did you say she acted?
Belligerent.
Belligerent, that's what it was. And then the defense attorney said, well, did she exaggerate stuff too? You agreed.
She would exaggerate and say things that she didn't mean or weren't totally true.
Okay. When you were first asked the question, you just stated belligerent, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you're saying she exaggerates stuff, she says stuff she doesn't mean, and you have this other information. In 2019, did you ever let the police know this information?
No.
Okay. 2020, did you ever let the police know this information?
No.
2021? 2022, did you ever let the police know this information?
The first time I let them know was when I was asked by counsel.
You talked to the police after you talked to counsel?
No.
Okay.
Sorry,
So,
I misspoke. I did not speak to the police.
okay. So this information that you testified to today, that she exaggerates and she drinks, you did know your wife was arrested for aggravated murder and murder, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
For charges of, just to clarify.
For charges.
She was charged, she was arrested for charges of that.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I don't know what I stated.
That's okay.
Okay. For aggravated murder and murder, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you were aware and learned sometime during the pendency there was a recorded conversation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You had this information. Your wife, who you love very much, was in jail all that time, and you never went to the police?
No.
Okay. You didn't feel that information was necessary?
I didn't feel like it was relevant.
Okay. But it's relevant today as you testify, as she's on trial today?
I didn't feel it was relevant enough to go to the police myself.
Okay. But again, you feel it's relevant to say today as you testify?
I believe it's the truth, ma'am.
Okay. And you feel it's relevant
Okay, I
today
think
as you testify?
I think he answered it. Go ahead to the next question. Question answered.
Okay. When the defendant drank, and you said excessive during that time after the arrest of Chad?
That's correct.
Okay. You said she became belligerent. Would she show it?
I'm sorry, say that again.
How would she be belligerent?
Like I said, by saying things that she didn't mean.
That's belligerent?
I'm sorry, I don't know if that's the exact definition, but that's what I meant by that.
Okay. And you can tell she was drunk?
Yeah.
How could you tell she was drunk?
Slurring her words, typical body language of somebody who is drunk.
Okay. Typical body language. Okay. Slurring her words, swaying. Okay. So whenever, and you live with her, you're around her, so whenever you knew she was drunk, she would slur her words and she would sway. Typical when someone's drunk?
Yes.
And would it be apparent to you?
What, that she was drunk?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the night of the incident, June 20th to June 21st, 2012, you were not present at the scene, correct?
Correct.
You did not see anything, correct?
Correct.
You did not talk to the defendant that night, correct?
Correct.
You were at your apartment in your bed sleeping?
Yes.
So you do not know where the defendant was that night, isn't that correct?
Correct.
Okay. You do not know if she was at the location at 647 Rex Lake Road, correct?
I do not know.
Okay. You do not know if she's the one who made the phone call, correct?
Correct.
And you do not know if she followed Chad to the cornfield that night, correct?
Correct.
Were you made aware that she was located hiding behind a detached garage at 731 Rex Lake Road?
I don't recall.
And you also do not know if they had a conversation under a tree that night. They meaning the defendant and Chad Cobb.
basis.
Asking if he knows about a conversation?
That's what her question was.
I said he wasn't there that night, so you do not know, in the line of the other questions, you do not know if there was a conversation under a tree that night.
So I withdraw the objection.
Okay,
I thought she was asking about the conversation.
correct. Okay, go ahead. You may answer the question, sir.
No, I didn't know about any conversation under a tree.
Okay.
You testified on direct that you remember meeting Chad at 4 years old.
Yes.
Okay. And you have early memories from being with Chad, playing with Chad, living next. Was it next door or across the street?
It was across the street.
Okay.
But
And you have memories of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Memories when you were 4?
I actually do remember when I first met him, but I mean, it's vague.
Okay. You may not remember everything, but you do have memories from when you were 4, 5, 6 of meeting, playing with Chad.
Yes.
Okay. And you were best friends growing up.
Yes.
As you grew up, on direct examination, you stated you had a child. Your oldest child. What's your oldest child's initials?
My oldest adopted child is Alexander Stefanko. My oldest biological child is DS.
Okay. You were in a custody battle with the mother of your 16-year-old ES, correct?
Correct. DS. Delta S.
I apologize. I didn't hear that. DS. And you said one of the first things she would do is limit when and how much you can see DS, correct?
Correct.
So your child's mother tried to use DS to control the situation.
Correct.
If you didn't do what she said, she would limit or do stuff with DS you didn't like.
Pretty much.
You talked about on direct examination, Cindy Cobb and Jay Cobb's abuse towards Chad, correct?
Yes.
And are you aware that Cindy Cobb did not, or is not quite fond of you and your family because of the marijuana use?
I really don't care.
Okay. Are you aware that Cindy Cobb was not fond of you or your family because of the marijuana use?
Yes, I've been aware of that the majority of my life.
Okay. Is that why you're testifying as to what she did today?
No, I'm testifying here today to answer the questions and get the facts out.
Okay. Now, you said that when that happened, she came to pick you and Chad up from an outing.
Correct.
So that would have been prior to you all being able to drive, correct? Under 16 years old?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, you and Chad were 2 teenage boys, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The incident that Jay Cobb, you talked about was abusive to Chad. I think you said that, well, let's finish with Cindy. During that abuse, you said Chad just took off, turned around and ran away, correct?
Yes.
Was Chad upset?
Yes.
Okay. But instead of lashing out, he turned around and ran away, correct?
Yes.
And with Jay Cobb, you stated that, I think he punched him in the chest.
Punched him in the chest or in the face,
Okay.
and then threw him through a glass window.
And at that point in time, you did not testify that Chad did anything back, correct?
No, he didn't.
Okay. And Chad was upset then too, correct?
Chad was bleeding heavily, and his mom and his dad were trying to keep him from passing out.
Okay. Okay. He didn't do anything back after his dad punched him in the chest or the face. I don't want to put words in your mouth, correct?
No.
Okay. So you have been with the defendant and Chad throughout the beginning of their relationship?
Correct.
Okay. You saw them get together, have children, live together?
Yes.
And you have the children now. Who all have keys to your house?
Just me.
Just you?
Yeah.
Okay, and you testified that you get A lot of help from a lot of different people, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you had keys to Chad's house, correct?
Yes.
Okay. He trusted you enough to have keys to his house?
Yes.
Okay. And after he got arrested and went to jail, you started sleeping with his wife. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Are you aware, or would it surprise you that during that same time, the defendant was telling Chad that she loves him and is going to stick by his side?
I was unaware of that.
Was that the time that you stated that you couldn't help you fell in love, that you two fell in love with each other?
I'm sorry. What's the question again?
Was that around the same time that you two were falling in love with each other?
I believe so.
Did you know about the defendant's abusive relationship towards Grace?
No.
Okay. Would it surprise you that there was an abusive relationship towards Grace?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you aware of the incident where Grace thought she was eating dog feces?
Objection. He said he's not aware.
I was general, Your Honor. I didn't know if he.
In general, he said he's not aware.
Correct. That's why I'm getting specific.
Overruled. Go ahead.
No.
And Grace was the only individual at that household who was not, at that time, who was not her biological child, correct?
Yeah.
And you said you were with the defendant and Chad a lot during their relationship. Were you aware that the defendant told Grace not to love on her dad so much?
No.
So there are some things that were going on in their relationship you were not aware of. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
You stated that on direct, you believe Cindy Cobb did not like the defendant from the beginning. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
Okay. But you were not around all the times that Chad took the defendant to his family or his mother or father, correct?
Correct.
So you would not know how Cindy treated her during those times, correct?
Correct.
You were just making a general statement on behalf of the defendant, correct?
I was making a general assumption, yes.
Okay, an assumption. And you've been caring for the children since 2019,
Yes.
and that's difficult. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
You were asked on direct, you're a single dad and you have to work, correct?
Yes.
And you have a village helping you, so to speak, a lot of individuals.
Yep.
It would be in your interest if the defendant came home. Isn't that a correct statement?
Yes.
What would you do? Would you do anything to get her home?
No.
You were asked about on direct about the marijuana, I think. You said you gave Chad,
Correct.
and somehow it ended up in the back of Brittany Dunson's car.
I was not aware of that.
Okay, well, are you aware of the police being called?
I was made aware that it was used in an attempt to try to get them in trouble.
Okay.
I don't know the manner in which.
Would it surprise you to learn that the defendant was the reporting party in that situation?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Would it surprise you to learn that the defendant, Erica Stefanko, was the reporting party to the police to try to get them in trouble?
I have, like I said, I don't know.
Okay. Would it surprise you?
Not necessarily. She was with Chad.
She was with Chad and they did things together?
Yeah.
They had the same, when she was with Chad and did things together, they shared the common goals, the common plans at that time?
I don't know.
Now, prior to Chad going to jail, you were living in an apartment, correct?
Yes.
And you were paying rent, correct?
Yes.
Okay. How much was your rent at that time?
I honestly can't remember.
Now, after Chad went to jail, prison, or actually, before he even pled, you stated you moved in, well, one time you stated you moved in January of 2013, and then another time, November of 2012. When did you move into that house on Mount Eaton Road?
January.
So you moved in January 2013?
Yep.
And that was before the Chad pled guilty or was sentenced, is that correct?
I don't know.
Okay. If I tell you it was, would you have any reason to not take what I say?
No.
Okay. When you moved out of your house, you no longer paid rent, correct? I'm sorry, it was an apartment. When you moved out of your apartment, you did not pay rent at that apartment anymore, correct?
Correct.
You did not have utility bills at that apartment anymore, correct?
Correct.
And when you moved in with the defendant, you went from an apartment to a house, correct?
Yes.
And you did not pay the mortgage at that house, correct?
No.
And you did not pay any utility bills, correct?
Not when I first moved in, no.
And to this day, you're still living in that family home that Chad had purchased, correct?
Yes, I'm still living at that address.
Now, you have FC and KC, correct?
Yes.
And you do not let Cindy Cobb see FC or KC, isn't that correct?
She does not reach out to try to see them.
You're saying that they don't reach out to try to see their grandkids?
The last time they reached out was June of 2022.
You're not doing what your child's mother was doing to you?
Say what now?
Are you keeping
Sorry, what's the question?
Are you keeping the children away from Cindy Cobb and Jay Cobb?
No.
Okay. So if they wanted to see the children, they can call you and come get the children. Is that what your testimony today?
I'm saying things could be worked out, yes.
If not, what needs to be worked out?
I'm not just going to let them come and pick them up and leave for an undisclosed amount of time. They have to be willing to discuss what the children are going to be doing and be willing to communicate with me. And since I laid out those guidelines that they need to be able to communicate with me, they have ceased all communication.
Isn't it fair to say that part of the reason you talked about Cindy Cobb you did not believe Cindy Cobb like Erica, isn't it true that part of that reason is because she smoked marijuana as well?
Not that I'm aware of.
You're not aware if the defendant smoked marijuana?
No.
the Cobb Cable Company, that was started prior to Chad getting in a relationship with the defendant, correct?
His company itself, I believe so.
And are you aware that the company that Chad had started prior to even meeting the defendant, he did not receive any of the proceeds from that company?
Again, I don't know.
And this is after he was arrested.
So I'm sorry, what is the actual question then?
That are you aware that he did not receive any of the proceeds from the sale of that company?
No, I was not aware of that.
But you are aware that the proceeds from the sale of that company was used to take care of you and Erica when you both were living there by yourself without the children?
Yes.
Are you going to be using the camera? You want me to turn on the document?
You recognize that photo?
Yep,
How are you able to recognize that photo?
that was taken in my backyard.
I'm showing you what's been marked. It states Exhibit 124. Please describe for the jury what we're looking at.
It's a picture of myself and all my children in our backyard, posing
Okay.
for a picture.
And is that the backyard at Mount Eaton Road?
Yes.
Okay. Who all is in this picture? There is a weapon pointed to the ground. Who am I pointing to now?
That is DS.
DS. That is your biological son that you came into the relationship. Okay. And how old is he in this picture?
Can we do a quick sidebar?
And FC is holding a sign. Do you know what that sign says?
Oh, I can't read it.
Okay. Do you need the picture, or you could not read it in the picture?
I could not read it in the picture.
If I say that sign said, in order to get to us, you have to go through them. Does that sound familiar?
Sounds about accurate, yes.
And this was just a... Excuse me. Were you aware, and I just want to switch topics for a moment, were you aware that the defendant hated Ashley?
No.
Okay. Were you aware that the defendant defecated on Ashley's grave?
No.
And you previously testified you were not aware that the defendant gave Grace what she thought was dog feces to eat, correct?
Correct.
Were you aware that every time the defendant heard a siren, she thought they were coming for her?
I was not aware of that.
Are you aware that she was in fear that Chad would tell more about her involvement with Ashley?
No.
Are you aware that the defendant did not feel bad about what happened to Ashley?
I was not aware.
Is it fair to say the defendant obviously keeps things from you, including what happened the night of the incident?
I guess so.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Ms. Easter asked you about Jay and Cindy Cobb, correct?
Yes.
Is it your testimony that you've not withheld those children from them?
Correct.
She asked you why you didn't go to the police, correct?
Yes.
Were you given advice by your attorney when you contacted an attorney in this matter?
Yes.
Did you follow that advice?
Yes.
You're not an attorney, correct?
Correct.
So were you following the advice of a professional?
Yes.
Do you know what a picture of children from 2019 has to do with a murder in 2012?
No idea.
I have no further questions.
Alrighty, that wraps up Mike's testimony. That was really interesting to hear. I think after hearing all these different family members come forward with their testimonies, it's giving a good picture of kind of how messy the family is as a whole. It sounds like there's a lot of underlying issues with different people abusing different children at different points, and no one seemed to have reported these things. I could be wrong. It doesn't seem like anyone has reported them. And it's not until this trial comes to light that people seem to be using it as leverage of, okay, you made me mad in our personal life, so now I'm gonna air your dirty laundry of these things that you've done. And of course, these things that they're alleging that the other people have done are absolutely horrible. But it's interesting that they've never tried to pursue any legal action against these people to protect these children in the past, but rather just use it as words in a totally different trial matter. So it just kind of shows the dynamic, I think, of all the different families at play here, and how they use this as kind of blackmail, if you will, and less about protecting the children. And it seems like, unfortunately, a lot of these family members have lost sight of what is most important, which is always the children, and again, more about just messing up other people's lives. Because from what it seems like right now is, Chad went to prison. He was going to keep his mouth shut. Erica was going to keep the children. And then he finds out that she's with Mike, his best friend since like being 4 years old. And then he gets mad and then throws all her stuff out of how she participated in everything. But he wasn't going to do that before. So it just seems like their dynamics are definitely very clustered for sure. So that wraps up his testimony. We have not quite finished this trial, so we will finish this trial next week, Monday and Tuesday. Listen to Erica Stefanko's testimony, which is going to probably be pretty interesting, as she did not testify in her first trial. So this will be the first time she'll be taking the stand as someone being questioned. She did a statement in her last trial, but she was never questioned. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how that goes. And then we'll watch the closings and wrap up next week. So everyone have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for hanging out.